Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another game. This time, guys, we are finally casting another escalation game between my two favorite players, Race and EXE, on a map called Global Warming. Guys, this map is interesting. It does have water and lava, but basically these are just essentially like it's just for the visual. It doesn't really play too much into the map. It's pretty much a land map. It's just a neat design. But basically, this is a 1v1, and Race has started as core, and EXE, of course, going arm this time. So again, guys, these are two very high level players in the escalation community. And guys, I haven't really cast an escalation game for a while, so I'm excited to get back into it finally. One thing I do want to say is, guys, because I've hit 1,000 subscribers, I am having that all-day gaming marathon. I'd love for you guys to come. Please join my Discord. I will put it in the description. I will put it in the comment section. Come join the Discord. Come be part of the community. I'd love to have you guys. Yeah, I really appreciate all the support, and it's really great to get my community together and play games. And I think I don't know. I think we just have a lot of great things in the future, guys. So please come be involved if you can. And let's jump into this game. EXE is moving forward here with a couple of Jeffies. But it looks like Race is ready for him with his own little weasel defense. And he will prevent that one metal extractor from being destroyed. So guys, here at the beginning of the game, nothing too out of the ordinary. Both players have decided to start vehicle, which isn't that surprising on this map. It is it's a large map, and vehicles do tend to do pretty well on these larger flat maps without too many terrain obstacles to speak of. There are some terrain obstacles, obviously, but it's nothing so outrageous that vehicles can't handle it. You know, a few hills or trees here and there will not really stop vehicles from being useful in this type of environment. K-bots tend to do better on those maps where you know, there's just hills and obstacles all over the place. And especially if the map is smaller, K-bots do better because K-bots are slower, but they do have a faster acceleration. But on a map like this, vehicles are very strong. So EXE did get a couple kills on metal extractors there with his flash, but overall the players economically very even for this point in the game. Very little difference between the two in terms of their eco, and neither player has lost a con, which is usually the biggest indication early on whether someone is falling behind. If they lose a constructor, that can be a pretty devastating blow. But yeah, at this point, both players defending really well, doing a good job of protecting themselves from major damage. Now, Race has managed to get a few mexes here with these weasels. That's very annoying. But again, that is not any kind of game-ending economic damage. Usually early on, you want to get a con if you can. That is a pretty devastating blow. But just killing metal extractors is annoying. But that's about it. They can be replaced pretty quickly. And it usually is not game-ending or catastrophic. However, Race still here with a couple of weasels that he has placed in a advantageous position to try to get this con, but no, EXE will react and shouldn't have any trouble cleaning that up. So again, here at the beginning of the game, both players starting out very similarly, doing a good job of defending each other's attacks. And guys, a lot of games do just end at the beginning stages like this. One player can easily get an advantage. So it does take a lot of skill to hold off your opponent, to prevent him from just manhandling you here in the early game. But right now, Race being very aggressive. However, EXE has done a good job of building up that defense. Got quite a few flashes here. And, will this be the first con in the game that will go down? Yes, Race does find a con for his trouble and a Mex. So, nice job by Race, a good pickup. But EXE going straight into air as his third lab. And going right into those bombers. So, this is very EXE type play. We are used to EXE rushing into air. It's certainly one of his trademark moves. Now, guys, this strategy of building one light laser tower and one pulverizer in OTA, that was called the Spike. It is a very nice combo. You kind of see it here too. One LLT, one defender. That is the Spike defense. Why is it called the Spike? I don't know. I didn't name it, but it is a very nice combination. It kind of protects you against everything. Here you see within this land barrier or circle called the this kind of natural defensible position here. EXE has built 4 light laser towers and 4 defenders. So, guys, this is just it's a really well-rounded, versatile defense because it can handle air, it can handle raids, it can handle Jeffies, it can handle most anything early on. That Spike defense, really powerful early game tool. But Wraith's really being the aggressor in this game and putting on the aggression at every angle. And EXE has mostly been on the defense this game. To Wraith's constant pressure all over his base. And now Wraith's throwing out some levelers as well. And as I've mentioned in previous casts, levelers are very good against flashes, but not if they're just thrown in one by one. Definitely Race wants to kind of consolidate his forces just a little bit. And can Race pick up a second construction vehicle here? That might be pretty big if he could get it. EXE maybe not paying attention too much. This con is a little bit out there. And I think he will lose it. He will lose a second con, so it's a little unfortunate, but still not the end of the world. However, just looking at the map, guys, you can see Race has started to take control. And also another thing about Race that's just kind of scary is Race expands very quickly, but he also defends his territory extremely well. So it's not as though Race is expanding in some kind of reckless manner that would allow EXE to counterattack and just even the game. I mean, if you look at it, Race has not only expanded, but he's defending his territory quite efficiently, so it's difficult to even counterattack. And Race making it difficult to counterattack because of all this pressure he's putting on from several different attack vectors. Certainly a difficult position for EXE to be in. So Race right now on 3 vehicle plants and a K-Bot lab and working on an advanced K-Bot lab. And EXE on 1 K-Bot lab, 1 vehicle plant, 1 aircraft plant, and working on now an advanced vehicle plant. So as you can see, Race's production is just higher. I mean, just the amount of units he is pumping out, it seems to be like twice as much right now as EXE. So EXE definitely on the defensive, but he does have this bomber squad in his pocket, and we'll have to see how he can use that. I mean, this bomber attack is really going to have to be quite devastating. He invested a lot into this. Instead of going into another vehicle plant or whatever it is, he did invest quite a lot of resources into this airplay. So it's going to need to accomplish a lot. And he has taken out several mexes, and he might get the Geo as well. Nice, and the Geo will explode, taking out 2 more mexes. And so a fairly effective bombing run here, and it's still not finished. Yeah, he will finally go down. So he did inflict a lot of damage with that. He killed, let's say 6 mexes and a Geo, but I'm not sure that was quite enough. Now, if we look at Race's energy here in the bottom left, you can see he is completely out. So he did inflict pretty serious economic damage, and with Race going to T2, teching up is always very energy intensive, guys. So definitely nice taking out the Geo there. It will slow Race down, but Race still is in the lead. Just looking at the map, he's got much better map control, and EXE really struggling just to hold his side of the map as Race continues to apply that pressure. Race's economy is quite a bit better even after EXE's bombing run. Race is ahead on both energy and metal. So a difficult situation for EXE to be in. And now Race going into this heavily fortified natural, whatever we're calling this, circle. But EXE has defended that really well, and also using this, you guys can see the way he has built solar collectors at the front to actually act as a natural wall there is really nice as well. But guys, it may not matter. Race just putting on so much pressure and continuing to find weak points in EXE's defense. And again, guys, as you can see, the crazy thing is Race, even though he's been expanding, has not failed to defend his own expansions in the process. He has quite a bit of defense, even if EXE wanted to counterattack. Not that EXE is getting much of a chance to counterattack, just because he's under this constant pressure here. So very, very difficult position to be in for EXE. And I think it's just going to get harder as Race begins to improve his economy with T2 and begin pumping out pyros and whatever else it may be. Now EXE is also on T2 as well, so he will have some Panthers, and holy cow, EXE now on 3 aircraft plants. So I think EXE at this point on 3 aircraft plants probably knows that he's in a lot of trouble. This looks kind of like an in-game gamble. And even with all this defense that he has built here, it seems like Race will overwhelm this with a combination of Instigators and Storms. And here at the bottom left, EXE doing his damnedest to defend. But as you can see, he is just starting to kind of crumble and just not really able to apply any kind of pressure at Race at all. He's just having to use all of his resources to defend. And guys, that's just kind of the way Race plays. He's a very solid player. He has a pretty orthodox or predictable play style. He usually just goes several factories early on. In this case, he went 4 factories. and then pumps out tons of units and overwhelms you, and also expands and defends his expansions extremely well. I mean, this GAT will probably never be used in this game. All these defenses will probably never be used. But it doesn't matter, right? Like, he's building them just in case. It's just insurance that even if EXE were to counterattack, which he can't because he's just under that constant pressure. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, Race is very good at playing this both offense and defense style, right? There's no real weakness. What is the weakness to this? How do you beat him? He's not giving you an opportunity. He's not giving you an opening, right? He's pushed you the whole game. He's been on the offense, but he's giving you no room to counterattack. There's nothing you can do. So that is a very orthodox, kind of brutal play style, which is the reason that Race won the tournament this year. I believe he did win the tournament this year against Harold. He is just very difficult to deal with. And now attacking this natural fortification. He's got some raiders in there. And EXE will be able to maybe hold this off for now, but as more raiders pour in, Raiders are very strong against defensive positions because they have a ton of health. Their bullets have an arcing feature, so as to avoid dragon's teeth and terrain obstacles. And it seems like EXE is going all in on some kind of shenanigans commander snipe strategy with fighters. But yeah, EXE trying to counterattack. Here's what I'm talking about. EXE realizing that he can't just keep defending the whole game. He's got to try to put some pressure on his opponent. And as soon as he does, his whole army just gets demolished. So it feels like an impossible situation for EXE. He knows he can't just defend endlessly. Race is going to eventually crush him because he has been slowly winning a war of attrition over the past 20 minutes. But if he tries to counterattack, he just makes it worse. He kills his own army, and then he doesn't have an army to defend with anymore. So it's a very, very scary play style by Race. And to be honest, one of the only ways to beat Race is to either do what he's doing better than him, which, good luck, right? Because Race is the best at what he's doing. Or do something so unorthodox that it breaks it, right? That's another option. You can do something that just totally throws Race's entire strategy out the window. You just can't let him play his own game. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you have to break the game so that he can't play it the way he wants. But EXE attempting to do that here. He's attempting to snipe his commander with all these freedom fighters. But yeah, I don't know. Race pretty well defended. He's got quite a few missile towers here. And also, all the solar collectors are acting as walls, so EXE just can't really target the commander the way he'd like. Maybe if these were bombers, he could have done it. The bombers could have more or less ignored the solar collectors. And since Race's commander is stationary, he couldn't really avoid the bombs, but that was EXE's final gambit, and it didn't work. So, guys, very well played by both sides, and certainly EXE did a good job holding off there, and some very good airplay as well. But ultimately, Race just dominating. I mean, Race just playing a very clean TA, and it's difficult to stop that kind of strategy. So, guys, let's go on to game 2. There is another game, and this one will be a little bit longer, so yeah, I'll see you there. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game 2 of this best of 2 between Race and EXE. Guys, Game 1 was really, really good. But Race, just with that impervious style, very difficult, nice balance of attack and defense, and EXE struggling to get through it. But guys, the players have swapped factions. This time Race will be he will be cosplaying the ARM commander, and EXE will be cosplaying the core commander. Both players going vehicle first, which isn't anything too out of the ordinary. Guys, this map is corrupted. If you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know what corrupted is. One of the most popular escalation maps for sure, both for 1v1 and team games. It's pretty well rounded. You can do like a 6v6, player here, player here, player here, and then on the bottom. So even a 6v6 works on this map, but of course 1v1 works too. It's pretty big for a 1v1. Bigger, I think, than global warming, the one we just watched. But in either case, we'll have to see how the players want to play the opposite faction. Now, I know when EXE plays ARM, he likes to go into Panthers. He loves his Panthers. He also likes to go Bombers, but of course, you can go Bombers just as easily on Core, so that's not really race specific. And Race, of course, loves to spam out units. In the last game, it was mostly lots and lots of flashes and javelins, I believe. No, I'm getting that mixed up. Lots of instigators and raiders was mostly what Race did last game. So I fully expect EXE to go air again because air is EXE's specialty. But of course, Race no slouch either when it comes to air. He is also extremely talented in his air play. But as I said in the last game, Race is he plays a very orthodox style, and he usually builds several factories early on and tries to overwhelm his opponent with units, with land army. So that could indeed be the case. That could indeed be what happens this game. EXE going to have to find a way to really stem the tide of the relentless aggression while also being able to counterattack. As I mentioned in last game, the difficulty with playing against Race is that it's hard to counterattack. It's difficult to inflict your own damage when you're spending all your time defending. And Race is being a little annoying with some weasels. But I think at this point that's all it really is, an annoyance. However, here on the left there is a more substantial attack of flashes moving up. But here we have the spike defense that I mentioned last game, light laser tower, and pulverizer. And these two structures will get up just in time. Race will get a con, but that is all he will get. So EXE really building those two structures, the spike defense, in just the nick of time to stop this whole area of his base from getting demolished. That would have been pretty bad. And EXE now on a counterattack here with about 6 instigators, but it looks like Race is ready. And if EXE can at least get this construction vehicle, he will get it. So both players getting a construction vehicle early on. Nice trades. But Race continuing to put that aggression straight down the middle of the map. I mean, literally straight down the middle. But EXE with some nice defense as well. Light laser tower, defender. This attack shouldn't get too much. No, it won't really get anything. Just going to give EXE a little bit of free metal. And now Race putting out Javelins. Javelins very strong against Instigators. They can outrange them. And they do a ton of damage. Javelin is a very strong unit when microed correctly. The Javelin needs to really utilize its range to be fully effective. Javelins don't have the most health. Levelers are a little more fire and forget. You can kind of just build a bunch of levelers and send them into the fray, but Javelin is something that wants to stay at the edge of its range to be fully useful. But if you can micro them well, they do extremely devastating damage in the skirmish situations with Instigators. Certainly a unit to be feared. But EXE on 2 aircraft plants, so really committing to the aerial style again this game, which of course I will not complain about. I love watching EXE's aerial style and watching him style on his opponents is always something that warms my heart. Those Javelins are moving up here into EXE's eco, taking out a little bit, taking out a couple mexes. Couple light laser towers. Again, Race with this relentless pressure. Guys, this is so difficult to play against. If you were to ever play against Race, you would probably be very, very frustrated or overwhelmed. The constant pressure is, it's psychologically difficult. It's psychologically straining to just be under a constant assault that just never seems to end. This Khan will barely survive, but so far EXE on this bombing run, he's gotten 4 mexes. 5 now, and so 6. 7, I think. No, he misses that one. So 6 mexes on that first bombing run. Not bad. I mean, certainly that's going to put Race a little bit behind, but all it really does is kind of equalize the players, as Race was already ahead economically. Not by much, it's pretty even, but that will not put EXE ahead. That will simply kind of balance the scales a little bit. And as predicted, Race now on 3 vehicle plants. That seems to be a pretty normal opening for him as soon as he has the economy to afford it. He will begin pumping out the endless waves of enemies, playing against Race, a bit like playing tower defense. It never ends. You're just constantly on the back foot. And EXE with another bomber, but again, just like last game, EXE struggling to make any kind of counterattack. All he really can do is use these bombers to take out mexes. And in fairness, he is doing that. I mean, he is using the bombers pretty well here to slow down Race's economy. But the problem is Race can just rebuild those mexes. And he has, look, he rebuilds it almost immediately. So it is annoying for Race, but it's not really an existential threat to his economy or his game. He can just quickly rebuild those mexes. Not a huge investment. And Race at looks like 65 metal to EXE's 43, so he, even with EXE's bombing runs, EXE is still behind. However, EXE, despite having a smaller force, has built very good counters here. MAK's just wonderful against... The MAK is a wonderful defensive unit. They have a good range, and those green lasers will shred through any T1 armor very quickly. So even though Race has more, EXE building the correct counters, a quality over quantity type situation. Of course, EXE will lose this con, but oh my god, watching those MAKs just absolutely shred through everything is a thing of beauty. So EXE doing all this on just his 1 vehicle plant and 1 K-Bot lab. But now on T2, and so EXE really jumping to T2 very quickly. And as you can see, Race really spreading his tendrils out around the map, starting to starting to move into EXE's base in force with even more units than before, and EXE has no control of this area. Generally on this map, you want to take control of your border here. But EXE can't even really get there because Race now has massive armies of units patrolling the front. So EXE is in a little bit of trouble. Race's economy is now much better. He's making 76 metal to EXE's 46. And EXE once again on the back foot, just trying to struggle to survive. However, he is on T2. He is getting some mohos, and he does have the airplay. But man, and the problem, like I said last game, is that even if EXE wanted to attack, Race does such a good job of defending his base, making it difficult to even counterattack. So we'll have to see what happens. Race pushing up the left side. A lot of Avengers here, and they will help defend this, but that's so many units. And EXE finally getting some Manticores onto the field. Manticores are a decent counter to flashes. If you micro them, they have a good range. The Manticore is really kind of like a super slasher or super Samson. Yeah, this Manticore will make it just in the nick of time, and with that spike defense at the top left, it will push Race back. So EXE barely holding off that attack with the combination of air power and some Manticores and the spike defense. He will hold that off, but as you see, the left part of his base is in shambles. However, the advantage EXE has are these T2 extractors, and these are pumping out, I can't say exactly how much metal per second, but probably around 10 per moho, something like that. So this will get him back into the game economically. Even though he has less of the map, he has the better technology right now. Of course, Race is also now on T2, but he just got here, and he is just upgrading his his second moho. This is the first one right here. But again, guys, just looking at the mega map tells the whole story. Race's base is looking very, very beautiful, and EXE's base is a bit in shambles. There is not much on the left side defending at all. However, one thing in EXE's favor are these two HLTs. These HLTs are going to create a kill zone in this area that's going to make difficult for Race to move through. With what he currently has, it's going to be difficult to move into this area. So in a way, what EXE is doing is kind of pigeonholing his opponent into either attacking here or here, because he can't go into the middle with those two HLTs defending that. And then when Race decides to attack either through the left or the right, he can bring his mobile army to stop him. So it's a pretty interesting strategy by EXE, creating these more or less kind of tower defense zones to bring Race's units into, and then really limit the amount of approach vectors that Race has to get into his base. So he's got the MAKs on this side, and he's got the Manticores on this side, making it much more difficult for Race to break through. And as you can see, these Manticore absolutely pelting Race's army with those missiles, and just outranging the army. So Race can try to send his army to chase these Manticores, but he'll just lose the army. The Manticores can kite T1 indefinitely. However, Race on the east side counterattacking with some hammers. And the hammers can outrange most T1 defenses, and they can obviously outrange these MAKs. So Ray's still finding a way to put on the pressure. But again, this middle area is sort of a kill zone, and if Race decides to kind of walk into this area, he is he's going to struggle quite a bit. Using those thuds, however, to outrange the HLT, very well done. I didn't even realize that the thuds could outrange the HLT. So nicely played by Race to take out that one HLT. However, there are still some defenses there. It hasn't been broken. But once again, these hammers pounding the gat like a nail, they will destroy it without much of a problem at all. But now EXE bringing in some Goliaths, and Goliaths are king of the battlefield at this stage of the game. They are one of the strongest T2 units, probably the strongest T2 ground unit you can build. So these moving onto the field will give him a nice advantage. And even though, I will say this, even though the hammers did take out those HLTs, it bought time. It bought time for EXE to get those Goliaths on the field and get his units. Because Goliaths are slow, they take forever to move from the factory to the front line. So the defense did give him some time to react. But even still, just look at the size of Race's army. It is huge. And EXE really relying on quite a small amount of units, but very good units, versus that Race's endless horde. But Goliaths are such a great defensive option. Certainly they stand toe-to-toe with Bulldogs. And now EXE rebuilding those HLTs. But yeah, again, Race using these hammers so well. Hammer isn't a unit we see too much, but they were buffed recently in Escalation. The hammer used to be sort of like the Rocco. They had a similar range to the Rocco, but they were just kind of like an indirect skirmishing type unit. Now they are much more of a T1 artillery K-bot. They're meant for taking out these long range. They're meant for taking out these defenses at a long range. They outrange the defenses. So they're not super accurate anymore, and they're not really great so much in combat, but they are much better at sieging your opponent's base. And it's really nice to see Race using them here to full effect. But he has rebuilt these heavy laser towers, and that is going to forestall any sort of aggression. Again, by Race, who will have to kill those before he can move forward. So EXE doing a good job of holding his base and now building some Hurricanes. He has been on 2 aircraft plants the whole game, and also an advanced aircraft plant now. So we can expect that EXE will eventually use his aerial supremacy to launch an amazing counteroffensive against Race, and hopefully inflict some serious economic damage, because again, you've got to find a way to counterattack against Race. You've got to find a way to break through the Porcupine Wall. The bo2's defense, if anyone has watched Princess Bride, Rocco Beniti, a famous Italian fencer, famous for a style of swordsmanship that combined attack and defense seamlessly, and that feels a lot like Race's style. difficult to break through. EXC attempting to break through with these Goliaths, but to no avail. These Goliaths just aren't going to get too much done. They're just going to get swarmed. That is one weakness of the Goliath. They are kind of weak to getting surrounded. They don't fire quickly enough to really be able to stop units from engaging them from every angle. So in a way, EXE just kind of throwing away those Goliaths, not really achieving too much. And now race with some scouts. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with player bases. Race is on air, obviously, building some scouts, though. That's all he's really doing. On T2 vehicles, which we already knew. But EXE now ready to launch that aerial assault on his opponent. It is time. We have been waiting for about 30 minutes. So far, all EXE has done are just this small aerial bombardment operations, but now we have a true to form aerial supremacy operation, and what a sight to behold it is. EXE's air control is nothing short of legendary here, taking out 2 Geos, taking out, maybe 3 Geos. Yes, 3 Geos in that one bombing run, and a ton. Oh my god. Look at him just wipe out the windmill generation economy. Holy cow! The Green Party types, the tree hugger types are raging. Anyone watching this cast that is a more of a natural wind energy defender is certainly upset at that display, because EXE has now just devastated Race's economy. And if you look at the bottom left, you can see that Race, his energy has now just been wiped out, totally kaput. He cannot sustain his economy right now. He's going to have to rebuild his energy very quickly. But Race going for a counterattack here into these HLTs. But like I said before, guys, EXE has created this middle as just kind of a kill zone. So I don't really foresee this attack accomplishing too much. There's just so many HLTs. Looks like there's 5 still alive here. And of course EXE still has air control, so using fighters as well, and of course cans. But guys, Race's energy still in the gutter, still in shambles. He can't support his eco after losing those 3 Geos and a ton of wind generators. He's trying to get his eco back online by building a fusion here, but it's going to take a while. He's also rebuilding these Geos, but that was a very substantial attack, crippling Race's economy here. And certainly this will stop Race from producing that endless onslaught of units that he is so well known for making. He just can't. He is now struggling to be able to produce. But I have to say, Race needs to be careful. He just doesn't have the army anymore. He doesn't have the production to be able to stop EXE, and now EXE bringing in another squadron of bombers. This is what EXE is so well known for. His airplay. Those bombers will move through, take out the Guardian for sure. and using a combined forces assault, air and ground together. Cans are so devastating, as we've seen in previous games. Oh my god. It's just so beautiful to watch. Death from above, raining down here. Goodbye, Sentinel. Goodbye, defenders. And goodbye, Race's army. That was beautiful. That was such a beautiful attack. But again, EXE will fall just short of being able to break through here. These Fidos are still pretty healthy. So I think Race barely holding off that combined forces attack. He will barely not have enough to defend his base. I mean, Race will barely have enough to defend his base, and EXE will barely have not enough to break through. But really, those cans are the front line. He needs the cans to survive so that his artillery, these pillagers and Mortys, can operate at their full potential. But guys, let's go ahead and look at the player bases. It's been a few minutes. EXE still pumping out Phoenix. No, excuse me, Hurricane. Quite a few Mortys. And Race finally getting his eco back under control, getting his energy online after that fusion has been rebuilt and these geos have been rebuilt. So very well played by both players, but EXE has done a good job of pushing back this aggression and using his airplay to devastate Race's economy. And now this Morty spam, so annoying to deal with. EXE using scouts to give himself vision. Guys, one thing that I don't talk about too much, but is very important in Escalation, is vision. You have to be able to see what you're shooting at. Most units have very poor optics. Oh, here comes another bombing run straight through the heart of those Fidos. Ooh, disgusting. And every time Race tries to attack, he just gets bombed into the Stone Age. It is so difficult to attack into EXE when he can use his aerial supremacy in such an effective manner. Oh my god. Just look at it. The entire army simply demolished. This is so scary to watch. And after wiping out Race's army, EXE will, no doubt, move in for a counterattack. Nice combination of Mortys and Pillagers. And he needs the cans and Goliaths in the front to take the damage. So Race deciding to build some slingshots, the T2 air defense, kind of near the front line. Race is going to need more anti-air. That's all it boils down to. You just can't attack into that many bombers and hope to get anything accomplished. You have to have some recourse. But Race's economy is still better, I think, a little bit than EXE's. But EXE's composition here is it's absolutely devastating. Really, really nice army diversity. And guys, this is one of the criticisms that I get from my Escalation cast, which I don't understand, is that the games aren't diverse enough, or they always play out the same, or that you always see the same units. And I just can't understand that criticism. Like, just looking at this game, we've seen like everything. We've got Mortys, we've got Pillagers, we've got Cans, we've got Goliaths, Bulldogs, Samsons, Fidos, Jethros, you know, Hurricanes, Partisans. You know, we've got Avengers. Look at the way that these Mortys are just sieging Race's army. And guys, the funny thing normally is that Fido spam has been considered OP before. I mean, people have actually gone to the Discord and complained that, you know, if a player gets enough Fidos, they can just kind of A-click into the enemy base, you know, to use a kind of a StarCraft reference, but they can more or less just, in TA terms, you know, left or right click into the enemy base. But these Mortys are looking a little more OP than the Fidos. Ironically, the Mortys outrange the Fidos and the Pillagers as well, and so these Fidos' greatest strength is their range, but EXE outranging them. Oh my god, these Mortys, look at this. Race can't even see what is shooting at him. A little bit before I was talking about the fog of war, it is so important to actually be able to see what you're attacking. Most units in this game have very limited sight range. But again, Race just walking into Withering Fire, and EXE with a counterattack here. Goliaths and Cans. However, there is an Orion, and that T2 defense, very powerful, using some nano blocking as well, and now Bombers moving in. Once again, these Hurricanes have been the MVP of the game, unquestionably. Breaking through here, killing that Orion, stopping the nano blocking shenanigans, and now EXE will strike. He will begin to draw blood. So if nothing else, EXE has broken a hole in Race's defense. And EXE's own base feels impenetrable because of all of this Mortys. But this is an interesting game, guys, because Race is still in a very good position. Economically, both players are about dead even. So EXE hasn't broken through yet. He did destroy this little position and took out a couple of Mohos, but at this point EXE is still on his side of the map, and so Race is certainly not dead. The game very even. Mostly what EXE has done so far is just keep things on an even footing, prevent Race from getting out of control. But Race can rebuild this very quickly. It won't take him too long to rebuild his defenses and close that gap. But EXE now almost at T3, so EXE seems to have had a tech advantage this whole game. He's been advancing more quickly than Race. He got to air much faster and to T2 significantly faster, and now he will get to T3 faster. So EXE feeling like just a step ahead of his opponent here. Just a step ahead the whole game. Race not even going to T3 yet, not even advancing yet, so EXE will complete his Ultra Vehicle plant quite a bit earlier. And again, these Mortys are spectacular to watch. Race just attacking into a gauntlet of fire. And what can you do? How do you stop this? Guys, again, Race's greatest strength is his hybrid attack and defense style. He seems to love to send endless waves of units at his opponents, but EXE's defense here is spectacular. It's just, it feels impossible to break through this. And now the Hurricane's coming in to add insult to injury. Oh my god. EXE is just playing out of his absolute fucking mind right now. This is EXE at his best. The thing about EXE that's so fun is like, it's hard, like you don't even know how he does it. Like when he plays at his best, you don't know how he's doing it. Like there's no way to characterize what he's doing. It's just broken. I mean, what is this? What are we watching? And one thing I will say is EXE upon reaching T3 did not build a single constructor. He did not build a single con, which is normal. Typically when you get to T3 you go straight into cons. You know, just to start upgrading your eco and give yourself an advantage over your opponent. EXE has not bothered to do that. He's going straight for a pounder. So guys, this is a very... EXE has a plan here to end the game quickly if he can. Not even building a con. I mean, EXE, if I had to guess, probably slowing down his production everywhere else and just going straight for this pounder. So this was a very intentional strategy by EXE. He did not just go to T3 you know, to slowly give himself an advantage over his opponent, or you know, to give himself this long-term boost. He went to T3 with a mission to build a pounder. As soon as he could. And guys, pounders are a very interesting unit. If you haven't seen a pounder before in my cast, you might be pleasantly surprised. It is quite a joy to watch, but EXE needs to be careful. He has really slowed down his production of units to get this pounder out, and now Race with his own terrifying army moving through the north. Finally, for the first time in the game, Race bringing bombers into the fray, but EXE is ready. EXE with so many fighters. So many fighters, and that will stop the Hurricanes from accomplishing too much. But Race has broken through a little bit here, but it's just shy of being enough. There are so many defenses, so many heavy laser towers, and obviously cans. And I bet Race has no idea that this pounder is 90% complete. But guys, what I was saying about the pounder is it's a really interesting unit, because if your opponent has the right counters for the pounder, it could be somewhat worthless. But if the pounder is created at the right time and the opponent has no answer, it can just win the game. It is a very all or nothing type of unit, and of course EXC a very all or nothing type of player, so that pounder is out on the field. And guys, Race will need to stop this, but Race does not have the composition that he needs to stop the pounder. Guys, if you haven't seen a pounder before, all it is a giant piece of shit vehicle. It slowly hunkers into the enemy base, and then it does AoE rings of destruction, seismic shock waves around itself, killing all units, including friendly units. So you can't really support it as a player. You just have to kind of send it in by itself to inflict as much carnage as humanly possible. But as I was saying, the pounder needs specialized counters. Some of those counters would be annihilators, of which Race has none. He has no blue laser of death. He has no penetrators. He has no shooters. Nothing with that powerful, accurate, long-range anti-large or anti-T3 effect. Another option is, of course, air. Air can be a decent counter if you have enough brawlers or bombers. But unfortunately, Race used all of his bombers in that last attack, and it doesn't look like he has any more. And Race now just moving to T3, but it is so late. So Race probably now just aware that this pounder is on the field and immediately retreating his units. Guys, if you see this AoE shockwave, any unit that walks into this radius will be evaporated. Any ground unit. They do considerably less damage to air. They do still hurt air. But any ground unit that gets caught in this shockwave, including defenses, will simply be eviscerated in 1 or 2 pulses. And again, Race wanting to counterattack here, wanting to punish EXE for putting all of his resources into that pounder, but EXE's defense has just been impeccable this game, and it is really... Oh my god, this is a scary situation. As you can see, Race just kind of keeping his units on the edge of the range of the pounder because he can't even send them in. If he tries to send his units in to attack the pounder, they'll melt, and they are melting. Race's whole army just being deleted. These are just not the right counters. Zeus's can't even get in range of the pounder before they die. And neither can Fido's for the most part. Brawlers are a decent counter, but you need a lot of them. The pounder has enough health to survive Doomsday, and Brawler's not known for their massive DPS unless you have an army of Brawlers. Race attempting a desperate counterattack here, but I think it will all be for naught. EXE's defense has been too on point this game. And look at this pounder continuing to move through. These Brawlers doing what they can, but it's still at like 80% health. Just cleaving a swath of destruction through Race's base. Look, I mean, you can see right here where it's been. It's just created a hole. And Race just doesn't have the right counters to stop it. Now building shooters. You know, of course the shooters can outrange it if microed correctly. This is the kind of thing you want to build, but Race just did not see this until it was too late. He did not have the counters until it was already on the field, wrecking his base. And now Race has made it to T3. But is it too little too late? This pounder is just pounding. And in its wake EXC to add insult to injury. Sending some freakers, sending some harassment, some raiders. And Race is in so much trouble. This Pounder now moving closer to the heart of his base. Now moving towards the T3 factory. Oh my god, and there's just no way Race is going to stop this in time. There's just no way he can stop this. This T3 factory is absolutely dead. It's not long for this world now. And Race, recognizing that once he loses that T3 factory, he will be put into a position that is insurmountable and will leave the game. So guys, remember when I said earlier that the way to beat Race is to break the game? You have to do something so unorthodox, so outrageous that it breaks the game. Well, EXE just broke the game. That's how you break the game. Throwing a Pounder at your opponent out of nowhere when they have no idea it's coming. It's a very good way to just totally throw their game plan out the window. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that series. Very well played in both games by both players, but excellent play by EXE in the second game especially. So guys, again, go ahead and join my Discord if you're interested. Thank you so much, everybody, for the support. And the next cast I do will be a bar cast. My bar viewers have been getting very angry with me and sending me very angry notes and emails and correspondence, telling me that if I don't create a bar cast soon, something could happen to my house. They don't specify, but something could happen to my house. Use your imagination. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this cast, and I will see you on the next one.